Education. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll take that as a yes.
Yes. Silence is a yes.
Is there silence constitutes acceptance? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any conversation and discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. As we do at the beginning of every meeting, is there anyone from the public who would like to welcome home?
Nora, do you have anything to say?
Miss Molly.
Molly.
Molly. Molly. Hi. Home from college.
Wow.
Seeing no one,
Sorry.
we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Has everyone had a chance to review the consent agenda?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. But someone's participating. Is there a second?
Second. It was just this side of the table stirred.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. We're going to move on to the board chair's report, and I do have a brief statement. I'd like to take a quick minute to address the decision by some members of the community to try and communicate with board members through anonymous letters. I had actually decided to make this statement before packets showed up in our mailboxes last week that included an anonymous rant, I'll call it, along with copies of discredited 5-year-old allegations against one of our administrators. In the past couple of years, we've received a handful of anonymous letters on various subjects. I want to let members of the community, including staff members, teachers, parents, and students, know that we will not acknowledge or address a letter that is not signed. In fact, I can say that I did not even read the last letter that was sent to my home. Once I saw it was unsigned, I gave it a quick skim and filed it. That said, I should note that we did issue a statement following the packet of materials that was disseminated about our administrator. We did this because of the seriousness of the allegations and because it was attached to several legal and personnel documents that were apparently obtained through a Freedom of Information request. Anonymous letters lack the credibility that comes with an individual being willing to put their name behind their sentiments. How can you address someone's concerns if you can't engage with them, ask questions, and try to dig deeper into an issue? I assure you, if you have a concern you'd like to bring to the board's attention, we will honor your wish to remain confidential and treat your concern with the utmost respect. Otherwise, please understand that any unsigned letter will not be considered an official communication to the board. Thank you. With that, is there a superintendent's report?
Sure, I have a couple of things, thanks, and I appreciate the comments. As you know, we had a team here from the Tri-State Consortium conducting a mini consultancy just a few weeks ago. The focus of that visit was to assess our progress in the implementation of English language arts curriculum, as well as the accompanying shifts in instructional practice. Chuck and I received the report earlier today. He'll be working with the steering committee to plan the dissemination of that information and what the next steps are going to be in response. But I wanted to share with the board an excerpt from that report that I think beautifully summarizes their findings. So if you don't mind, I'll just read to you. This is straight out of the report. At this point in the district's journey, the sustained effort to carry out the core principles of practice for English language arts has led to universal awareness, extensive implementation at grades pre-K through 8, a critical mass of support, and positive impact on student outcomes. This picture is entirely consistent with what one would expect at this stage of the implementation process. The Tri-State team believes that these shifts will take root and ripen over time. Yes, the district will need to experiment with creative uses of time, ongoing professional learning activities, and the use of instructional coaches. But today's mechanical applications of templates will eventually become part of teachers' muscle memory. Students' capacity to apply close reading strategies to unfamiliar texts and their use of more powerful writing techniques are likely to have a cumulative effect, raising the bar and expanding possibilities for teachers they get tomorrow. That was a really nice summary, and as we read through the report, there was all kinds of really good news and about the practice, particularly at the middle school, which was really wonderful to see. So just know that in short order, once Chuck has a chance to review that with the committee that chaired the effort, we'll be disseminating that report to the board, and you'll hear a whole lot more about it. So it's good news. Along those same lines, moving on the good news front, As you know, and if you get the news from the schools when it goes out tomorrow, you'll see a number of examples, but we continue to have many of our students earn significant accolades in various competitions that take place. So we want to congratulate tonight the members of our High School Model Congress for another very successful showing at Yale University. 7 students there were recognized with various awards, including Best Delegate Award, Honorable Mention, and Best Legislation Award. Similarly, Middlebrook's Debate Club hosted a competition earlier this month and performed exceptionally well. Of 87 teams, one of our teams took 3rd, a second took 6th, and a third team took 7th. So more of those details, as well as all the students' names, are published in the forthcoming edition of News from the Schools. So lots of really great news. I also wanted to take a minute and just express my appreciation to Mike Hostler and the folks over at Cider Mill, as well as a number of the staff at the high school and across Middlebrook and Miller Driscoll for all their efforts over the last couple of months to gather needed goods, raise money. I mean, they've just been on fire, you know, trying to support other communities and other people in need. Mike, I mentioned in particular because he has been very good about sending me updates, and you know, he was the first to take on hurricane relief at Cider Mill, so I'm grateful for him and for organizing all the students. Really, a lot of good that our students are doing on behalf of others. That's it.
Great, thank you. Community reports. Debbie, do you have a business ops report now?
No, the meeting was canceled. The next one will be in January.
Great, thank you. Teaching and learning.
Next meeting in January.
Yeah. Okay. Policy and communication, we met this week, but I don't think we really have a report. We have a lot of things under review.
Lots of homework.
I know. Welcome to Gretchen. We don't mess around on the policy. The financial report.
Right now, the financial report is still on a static basis for shifting in different areas, but I'm concentrating on some areas right now that I'm doing more deeper analysis. We've gone through the positions from payroll, things like that to look at. Now I'm looking at special ed, the subs like I had done before. We've done analysis to see where that's going to go for us so that we know by the end of the year where we're going to land. Do we need to cover one side and switch the other? So I'm looking at that. I met with Andrea about a week or so ago, and we're going to keep on that, and in the new year we're going to revisit it, see where we think we're going to land for the end of the year, and then see what the numbers are going to look like. But everything else we have is, you know, it's under a PO process, so that's locked down from that aspect. So we know those controls are in place. It's just the personnel and things that if different children come into school and they're not expected, that's the areas of where things could change. So we'll take another look at that in January.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
I just had a short, very boring question. It's around the utilities. Are there any surprises there? It just...
The electric?
Yeah.
I had talked, Chris Burney is the facilities manager that oversees both, and also Glenn is involved with the business ops meeting, and Richard Creeth. We've done an analysis of this. Chris has done all the schools other than the high school right now to see where we've been for the past 3 years, usage, and we're comparing that versus budget. Okay. We also have the Board of Ed had undergone a leasing of updating a lot of the electrical that was under a lease. That's also in there. We're identifying that out separately going forward so we know true usage versus a lease payment. And we will be setting up a meeting from the business ops side to discuss the electric on that. What we've seen so far, it seems that the rates, what we're using is what was expected. We can see over 3 years it declining over the 3 years, which was expected because of the upgrades they did. But we're just looking at where the budget's originally sufficient to have supported that, so that it really isn't an over budget. It's just what way did we have it. So that's what we're looking at.
Okay, it just wasn't in the right place to start with.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So we have attained savings on that line.
One more question regarding the solar panel installation at Miller Driscoll and Middlebrook. Is any savings going to be reflected in 2018, or does that really show up a little bit later?
Where some of it will, not a lot, but what we just found out is Eversource is raising again January 1. So just when we thought we were leveling off on the savings we've seen in 3 years, or over the 3 years, Chris is trying to find out where they think it might land. We're looking at right now doing just like a 2% right now. We're not sure how high they're going to go. But we thought we were gonna be good for it, because we had our carriers locked in, and then it's just basically our usage, and that's the item that's gonna move, unfortunately.
Our budgets are only going one way, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not the way we want.
No.
Right? Can't get a break. Anything else for Ann? Okay, thank you. On to review and discuss. First is a Freedom of Information Commission update. Dr. Smith.
Right, so I just wanted to very briefly talk through the memo that I included in the board packet here. Last week, I attended a Freedom of Information Committee hearing in the matter of Alex Ruskovich versus the Wilton Preschool Committee, Wilton Public Schools, and Wilton Public Schools. Alex filed a complaint a year ago, February, and so he had two complaints, two allegations. One was that the district failed to comply with requests for documents in a timely manner, and the second is that the district failed to properly notice the preschool committee meetings. So while we're at the hearing in the review of documents,
The hearing was in Hartford?
the hearing was in Hartford, right, at the Freedom of Information Commission. So we had demonstrated when the request was made, that was February 6th, and then when it was acknowledged and when the documents were provided. And in early March, I think it was like March 6th, we had transmitted something on the order of 174 pages of documents. So in some conversation with the hearing officer, Mr. Ruskovich wound up withdrawing that allegation. The second allegation, that the district failed to properly notice preschool meetings, I testified that we inadvertently violated the Freedom of Information Act. And in a nutshell, a year ago, February, when we received the complaint, I called our legal counsel just to explore the merits, and it was in that conversation with Tom Mooney that I learned that district committees, when they are requested by me, and I think that the legal term is single entity public agency, and when they involve committee members who are not paid employees, then those committees are subject to the same notification and noticing procedures as a Board of Ed meeting or Board of Ed committee meetings. That's an area of the law that I don't believe, in canvassing my colleagues, is widely known or widely understood. So at the time, we looked at what other committees we were running. So Chuck's curriculum review committee is the one at the time I think that was in place. And so we began the process of just noticing those meetings in the same way that we notice our Board of Ed meetings. And then going forward, we have some cleanup to do, and we're in the process of going through now and posting agendas and minutes of not only the preschool committee, but other types of committee meetings. So I just learned recently that my meetings with PTA presidents also falls under that, which I would have never in a million years guessed. And so I don't know if any superintendent knows that, but we're going to take the next couple months and go back through and just post all the agendas and minutes. So everything will be up on board docs. So anyway, I just wanted to let the board know that with respect to that allegation, the Freedom of Information Commission will probably find, as I acknowledged at the hearing, that we did violate that provision, and so we're in the process of cleaning it up.
Thank you. But you sort of admitted beforehand that you were guilty, didn't you?
I did, yeah. And I had a conversation with Alex the day prior, asking him if he'd be willing to withdraw, because it was really, personally, I didn't think it was a good use of time to have to drive out there. I spoke to him. He really wanted to have this opportunity in front of the Freedom of Information Commission, so we move forward.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to comment that I think it's a good lesson learned, but I also compliment our superintendent on being so upfront and transparent and making the improvements as soon as possible. And it is not a particular aspect.
Was this news
that
to
is,
you?
that is, yes, I'm glad I'm not in my old role. But yes, there's, the whole idea of when you form a meeting with people, what triggers an FOI requirement And there's certainly some misunderstood or ununderstood or gray area or little-known things. So anyway, I just credit Dr. Smith and our district for getting on top of it and being willing to just say, okay, we'll improve from now on. So thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Lesson
It's our
learned. Thank you.
obligation.
Anything else? Any other comments? Okay, next up, under review and discuss is the Green Initiatives update.
So, I'm not sure if the board has had an opportunity to really look at the totality of our efforts in the area of sustainability. So I wanted to just take 2 minutes tonight and call these to your attention. We are working on developing a page on our website where we'll be able to publish all this, but I thought it was important because I think this is one of those areas where both the town of Wilton and the Wilton Public Schools really stands out in contrast to its neighbors. Wilton has decided, given our rich history here and our connection to the agrarian past, that conservation and sustainability is important to its identity. And I think in keeping with that, our schools and our school personnel and students and families agree. So we have, over the last several years, in partnership both with the town and with organizations like Wilton Go Green, and led by some of our incredible staff, people like John and Heather Priest, Janet Nobles, Jim Hunter at the high school, and Kevin Meehan, who you all know, is deeply involved at Ambler Farm, works at Cider Mill and Miller Driscoll. They've all, contributed significantly in driving some of these efforts and deserve recognition and commendation. So just several points briefly. All 4 of our schools are now recognized as Connecticut Greenleaf schools. Cider Mill was recognized most recently at the end of November with that designation. So the Connecticut Greenleaf designation really, it's a support system that helps schools grow greener and focus on leading, educating, and achieving, and fostering healthy green schools for all. There are 3 goals to that program, including providing effective environmental and sustainability education, improving the health and wellness of students and staff, and reducing environmental impact and cost. So the program celebrates and recognizes those schools making progress towards sustainability with its Connecticut Greenleaf Awards. So I'm very proud to note that all 4 of our schools have been recognized in that way. You may recall about a year or so ago, Wilton launched a no idling campaign. So if you've been out in our bus loops or our parent pickup loops, you'll note the green signs. There was an article, I think published a year or so ago in Good Morning Wilton that described those efforts, and we have been working with our students to train them and help them understand so that they can go and convey that information to their parents.
Wasn't that a student-driven initiative?
It was. Alex Scaparata, who's one of our graduates, when he was here, he led that effort. Alex, I think, graduated, was it a year ago?
That was a couple years ago.
It was a couple years ago, yeah. So, and he, I think, working, through Wilton Go Green with Janet and a number of other community members, really championed that. So, very proud to support that effort. The other area, one of our natural resources in town is the Norwalk River, and that's something the Wilton Economic Development Commission is focused on, is identifying as a real asset. But here in our schools, we've used it for years as a source of field work, led by our high school science teachers and conducted by our students. So a couple of points. Our students and teachers take full advantage by participating in research programs like the winter flounder population, and then monitoring the fecal coliform bacteria in the Norwalk River annually. Earlier this fall, we learned that Trout Unlimited, which is an organization we've had a relationship with for a long time, received an $89,000 grant from the Connecticut DEEP to conduct a stormwater mitigation project at Middlebrook School. That's something we met back in the springtime with Jeff Yates from the Trout Unlimited, and he put that together. So they're still in the planning stages, but this is yet another example where we're working with community and regional organizations to focus on sustainability. Once all those plans are in place, we'll have opportunities for both staff and teachers to participate and to learn more about the project and contribute to cleaner environment. All of our schools have green teams in place, and this year they've been focusing on a zero waste initiative, so we've had various recycling efforts in place for some time. The zero waste initiative that was launched by Heather Priest this year has the goal of teaching kids to properly sort waste and minimize as much as possible that which we send to landfills. We also have at the high school and at Middlebrook a program in place where we're collecting old and used textiles that we recycle, and we're hoping to have that in place someday soon.
Heather is amazing, I just have to say. She's like helped us start it, and I was putting it off for a while. She's an unbelievable person to have in our community, and the difference that she's making in our schools is cannot be understated. I mean, she has spent so much time after her hours getting us set up at Sabre Mill. Like, it's amazing. So just whenever you see her out and about, to thank her for what she's done for this.
Yeah, and that's really her vision, is to, you know, along with others, to make this a truly district effort.
That's great.
It is. And, you know, back to Gretchen's question a moment ago, we've had a number of projects in the works you know, through the town. The largest and most recent is the solar panel project with the installation slated for Miller Driscoll and Middlebrook. We've had solar panels in place at the high school for a number of years. We've also, over the last couple of years, installed water bottle refilling stations. All of our boilers in recent years were converted from oil to natural gas, and as Ann noted before, you know, we've participated in, I think, a couple rounds of relamping here in the school. So we really are, in a variety of ways, as a school district, as a town, committed to sustainability efforts, and you know, those will only continue to grow. So I think when you step back and look at all of the efforts, you really get a sense of how each of these pieces come together, and you know, what that looks like in terms of a true commitment to efforts around sustainability. So, you know, again, another area I think for all of us to celebrate and to be proud of. Okay.
Just to jump in with Heather Priest, but I think it's not just, you know, conserving energy and doing things, but just her whole program of composting and growing the food and then cooking with the food is really bringing home to the kids. It's not just a theory, it's something that, you know, really makes a difference. And they start thinking about what goes into the ground and everything else. So hats off to our culinary arts teachers.
Yeah, the farm to table program is great, and I mean, we haven't talked about this here, but each quarter, students in that class, they all work on a recipe, and the kids vote on it, and the winning recipe is prepared in the Middlebrook cafeteria by the students with support of that Chartwell staff, and served. Yeah, terrific.
That's great. Anybody who's listening at home and who's interested in the topic, I encourage you to go onto board docs on our website, because there's a lot of really nice supporting documentation about everything Dr. Smith just explained. Really well worth your time. It is quite an impressive story. Are there any other comments or questions or anything like that?
No, just to reiterate that it's just, with perhaps the exception of the solar panels, that students have been involved, and so it's just a great thing that they're learning it here, and they'll carry it forward, and you know, they're the future, and so I hope our planet is in better hands. So that's great.
Okay, we have no action items. So with that, we're ready to once again open up the floor to any comments from the public. Would anyone like to make a statement? Seeing no one, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you very much. Yeah,
Good job.
okay. We're adjourned for the night. Thank you, and happy holidays to everyone, and we'll see you back here on January 4th. Thank you.
She just said the land speed.
There you go.
Yeah,